Welcome back. New York City is closing out one of its bloodiest years on record. 2020 saw a massive surge in violent crime, despite much of the year being spent in lockdown. So what happened, and can we get back to where we were? New York City Councilman Joe Borelli joins me now. Joe, thanks for being here. Happy New Year to you. Let's break down some of these numbers here. Talking about shooting victims this year compared to last year, and you can see there's a 103% increase. And then if you take a look at murders 2020 versus 2019, again, this is just New York City, a 41% increase. How is this going to change, Joe? What needs to be done?
Well, look, I hope, 2021 is a bit safer for New York City residents than 2020 was. I think the commissioner has come out and said optimistically he hopes it is as well. But if it was up to him, if it was up to some of the cops, I think we'd be able to accomplish that. But unfortunately, in New York City and New York State, we've seen politicians take 2020 to dismantle the police, whether it would be this summer when they defunded the police and lowered the head count, when it was just after that when they passed the chokehold bill that actually criminalizes police officers for basically wrestling with perps, and when there was bail reform in New York State, which allowed people back on the streets after having committed violent and heinous crimes. Yeah. So it's not the cops' fault that this happened, it's the politicians' fault.
Well, and also it's not just New York City. I mean, you talk about Chicago, you talk about Atlanta. I mean, with a 7-year-old girl who was just shot and killed there the other day when she was out Christmas shopping with her mom. It's just tragic. Philadelphia is at right around 500 murders. The record there in 1990 is 504 for most in a year. So there are cities all across this country that are experiencing high surges of crime, and it's just devastating when you look at some of those numbers. Let's talk about this here for a second. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, go figure. Anywhere you have Democratic mayors, Democratic control, one-party control of a city where they're promising to pander to criminals and defund the police, you're going to see this result.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about what's going on here with bars and restaurants with the lockdown orders. We've had countless restaurant owners on just pleading for help. And there's a judge in New York, a justice, who gives Governor Cuomo an ultimatum. This is what he said. This happened Monday. Justice Henry Nowak of Erie County Supreme Court telling the state to reach a compromise with bars and restaurants or provide scientific evidence to support restrictions on businesses. Although, you know, not much has really come of this so far. From the governor's office. Do you think that anything will?
Look, I think the judge is heading in the right direction. You know, that's certainly for sure. I think we're starting to finally see some pushback against these Cuomo regulations. You know, the science is with restaurant owners, and that's why this judgment is so important. They're asking the administration for something they already admitted they don't have. They don't have evidence that restaurants are super spreaders. And while the governor is actually in court fighting to keep his restaurant locked down, he was on TV yesterday talking about how we need to have 7,000 people in the Buffalo Bills stadium. It's just gotten to the point where who is taking this guy seriously anymore?
Yeah, I know. And, you know, a lot of people have flip-flopped on their ideas of whether or not schools are safe. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what Mayor Bill de Blasio had to say on Tuesday.
Look at the amazing success that we've had in our schools, keeping them safe. Clearly, New York City Public Schools is one of the safest places to be in all of New York City. I'm confident that we can and should keep them open.
So hearing that, a lot of people have questioned, why have there been so many strict lockdowns thus far?
Look, I have to give the guy a little bit of credit. I heard Todd snickering earlier, but you got to give the mayor a little bit of credit. There's a lot of pressure on him from the teachers union to actually go back and lock down schools heavy again, and he's not doing that. But we're still, you know, involved in this lawsuit. We're still fighting the lawsuit, and we have to take the progress and the safety we saw with with elementary schools, and start opening up the middle schools and high schools.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe Borelli, thank you for joining us. As always, covered a lot of ground there. Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Todd.